Well, Mr. President, I wanted to talk about the Everglades. And I need to start by saying that the Army Corps of Engineers began releasing water from Lake Okeechobee into the two rivers on either side of the lake. The problem is that we've got a dike. Wasn't it like it that Mother Nature intended, that the whole surrounding of Lake Okeechobee, which is the largest lake in Florida, was nothing but a marsh. That's how Mother Nature had. But as people moved in, and then in the late 1920s, the hurricane that drowned 2,000 people, we came in there, we diked it all the way around. Well, the dike is only so structurally sound, so that as the water rises in the lake, there's more water pressure on the sides, and if you start getting above 15 feet of depth of the lake, we have to worry about the dike collapsing and all the flooding of the surrounding towns and people and farmlands and so forth. You get the picture. So what the Army Corps of Engineers has to give some relief. So they release water to the east in the St. Lucie River and to the west in the Caloosahatchee River. And as a result, it relieves the dike pressure problem, but since Lake Okeechobee is so polluted, until we can get it cleaned up, and there is an effort, what happens when it goes into these pristine estuaries, to the east, St. Lucie, to the west, Caloosahatchee, you get much too much nutrient content into those estuaries. The salinity in those estuaries goes down, which is harmful to things like oysters and certain fish. And the nitrogen and phosphorus, the pollutants, come up, and what happens? Algae grows. And when algae grows, it sucks up the oxygen from the water, and it becomes a dead river. And the mullet can't jump because there's no mullet, and the fish hawk can't dive because there's no fish, and it becomes a dead river. Now, that's why it's so necessary that we proceed with the Everglades restoration projects that will help us clean up the pollution in Lake Okeechobee, and at the same time, when the dike structure gets threatened, that we have a place to send that water instead of directly into those two estuaries. That is presently being built on the east, a storage area, and that is to be built on the west, over near LaBelle on the Caloosahatchee River. Well, it's just another reason why many of us are fighting so hard to complete these Everglades restoration projects, so that impossible decisions that face the Corps of Engineers, like right now, that either they threaten the dam and hold it back, or they release the polluted water and kill the rivers, it's not a good choice that the Corps has to make. It's certainly not a good choice for our environment and all the people that live in the surrounding area. And so, Everglades restoration must move forward aggressively and without delay. And that's why this senator is going to be introducing legislation tomorrow to expedite that process. And it's going to be called the Everglades for Next Generation Act. It would authorize all of these Everglades restoration projects that the Army Corps of Engineers has deemed ready to begin, it would allow the Corps to begin work on them immediately instead of having to wait around for us to pass another water bill. Remember, we just passed a water bill? What was the last time we passed a water bill? It was 7 years ago. We just can't wait that long. There's too much at stake, and this is why we want to get these all bundled up so the Army Corps of Engineers can proceed. So, as the Everglades, for the first 3/4 of the last century, that was diked, drained, and diverted, now we're trying to bring back as much of that plumbing and reverse it so that it would flow much more like Mother Nature had intended it and did for eons and eons. And so it's a monumental task. We've got to look what we're doing to protect this land that we love, that has been called the River of Grass. We've got to do everything that we can to protect it.